Welcome to Thursday Thoughts, your weekly dose of real, honest conversation on all things personal growth. These are the chats Lucy and I love having every week over on Instagram. They're unfiltered, unedited, and always rooted in practical tools and a dose of inspiration. Let's dive in.
So this one was my idea, and what we're going to talk about this morning is basically sort of how to gently get back into some good habits when you've got out of them, or in your case, for example, when you've been injured. How to this is really just about how to start really small. And I think we're specifically going to be talking this morning about exercise routines and just about getting movement into your life. Because as some people listening and watching will know, you've had a really quite serious knee injury. You've got to have an operation. You're all about working out, and this has obviously been incredibly hard for you. And at the same time, I randomly have done my fucking hip in, which I won't even bore you with. It's fine. I cannot even tell you how much better it is now than it was on Friday. But basically, on Friday night, I actually thought I was going to have to take myself to casualty because I couldn't move. I've had that anyway. It's really very boring, really very dull. But the long and short of it is that since Friday, and it's obviously now Monday, I also had this injury, and it's I've been getting like this weird sort of pain in my hip for ages. I should have been to the doctor ages ago. I don't know what it is. It's partly maybe age or fuck knows. Anyway, so what it's meant is that this morning I kind of couldn't do like a proper workout. And as you know, because you and I have talked about this, like I've mentioned to you before, how this year so far, I think 2026 so far hasn't been the greatest year for either of us yet. And one of the reasons for me is because some of my kind of really good habits, largely I might add morning habits. And I think we should do another episode on mornings and morning routines and how incredibly important that is. Because one of the things that has been wrong with the way I've been feeling recently is because I haven't been doing my morning routine consistently, properly in the way that I normally do. And it just makes such a profound difference to the way that I feel. Anyway, so we thought we would just talk about kind of how you could, like, for example, if you've had an injury or if you've kind of fallen off the wagon in terms of exercise or movement, or you've never really started it, but you want to, how can you just start really small, really easy? And I thought I would give an example of what I did this morning, because my hip's not fully okay. But this is quite a good example. So I thought to myself, well, I want to do something. So basically, I ended up doing a little bit of an upper body workout, literally doing some kind of those cobra those cobra position push-ups. So not even like barely a push-up, but still using your body weight. So effectively still kind of strength training. I did some of those. I did some kind of planky things. And I also got on my rebounder for about 10 or 15 minutes. And then I went for a walk. So that was, I thought, a really good example of not doing like a full-on 45-minute full body workout, blah, 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 blah. But it was something. And I tell you something, I already feel more like myself this morning because I actually did that, rather than going, no, my hip's still painful, I can't do anything proper, I can't be bothered, and feeling a bit shit, blah, 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 blah. And this is going off on a slight tangent, what's new. But apart from anything else, when you incorporate movement into your day regularly, even if it is just a 10 or 15-minute walk or a crappy little strength training thing that I did this morning, or 10 minutes or 15 minutes on your rebounder, the difference in your mental health as well as your physical health is profound. And let me add, by the way, Polly, you've heard me bang on about my rebounder many, many times before. For anyone who's going, what the fuck is a rebounder? Well, a rebounder it's a mini trampoline, and I've had one for several years now. And it is such a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant form of exercise. It's really low impact. The benefits of rebounding are amazing. And it's such a brilliant way of, you know, you don't have to go to the gym. You can do it at home. You can be as gentle or as not gentle as you want. If you want, you can literally just do very gentle bounces, or you can do, you know, jumping jacks, or you can run, or you can do whatever, but it's really, really low impact. It's such, if you've never heard of it, really do look into it, because it's just brilliant. And I've as I say, I've been using a rebounder now for, I mean, at least a good 2, if not more like 3 years. So anyway, that is what I just thought it'd be good to talk about. Like, and just also to hear from you, Polly, who obviously you're really restricted at the moment because of your knee, but you're still doing things like, I know you're doing walking in the pool, and you're doing gentle walking, and you're still doing upper body workouts and stuff like that. So over to you.
Oh gosh, I could talk about this subject a lot. Because actually, before even what I'm doing now, what it made me think of was about, it must have been, I mean, gosh, about 12 years ago, maybe more than that. And it was when and now I'm looking back, I think it was obviously when my hormones were really changing. I was really in perimenopause, didn't realise it. But I was having serious back issues. So having been someone who exercises regularly, and I've always quite liked high intensity exercise, I've liked running. And about 12 years ago, I suddenly had terrible back issues. I had terrible sciatica. I couldn't get rid of it, to the point where I couldn't even sit down for long. I couldn't sit in the car. It was so painful. And I was recommended to have back surgery then. And I was like, something in me was like, no, I don't need that. I'm not gonna do that. And it sort of intuitively, well, I started strength training. I went into a strength training gym, which was one thing I started doing. But it again, very small movements, which I could do because I couldn't do a lot. But I started intuitively stretching my body, because I would never been flexible, very gently, every single morning, pretty much every single morning, for literally 2 to 5 minutes to start with, because that was all I could manage. So I might just have been going into a downward dog if I could. It might have just been moving my legs side to side. But it built from there. And that just changed my relationship with movement, because it literally was what I could do at that time. And often it wasn't a huge amount, but it was just feeling what felt good for me. And I absolutely swear that practice of stretching most mornings, because I literally felt like I needed to, I would literally roll out of bed, and having been in bed, I'd have to just stretch my back out and move my legs a bit, turned into sort of a 5-minute to 10-minute morning routine, which started sort of my morning routine. And that practice, I'm convinced, saved me. I didn't have the operation on my back. Alongside the strength training, which I obviously need to get stronger as well. But I still love stretching my body because it feels so good. And now at the moment, so having been mega fit, is so annoying, because I was so fit towards the end of last year. I was kind of doing, my regular exercise has always been, I love doing it first thing in the morning. Since I was a teacher, I would do exercise before work. So I'd often be moving and doing something at 6 in the morning, which lots of people are like, what? But for me, that was always worked. So when I injured my knee before Christmas, I haven't been able to do that, because I've had to completely switch what I can do, because I can't straighten or bend one of my legs at the moment. So it has been a real lesson, not just in slowing down, but also in refining what my body can do. And a part of me initially was like, oh, sod it, well, I just can't move now. That's it. I'm done. What's going to happen? I just can't move. And then it was like, actually, that is not true. There is actually an awful lot I can do. So my whole of my upper body is working. My other leg is working. So what can I do to keep moving? And initially, I literally was sitting on a chair, and I was still doing some upper body weights, what I could do. And actually, what I've learned for the last 3 months is really leaning into discovering what you can do.
Yeah.
So you might have an injury, you might have a weakness, but there is so much I have been able to do. And
like what?
For example, initially I was absolutely, I mean, I did try to do some things like doing a downward dog and moving my back. And I was like, oh no, knee doesn't like it. But now, actually, although I can't straighten or bend my neck, I can do things like that. There's certain things I need to do for physio. So I can do some squats. Obviously not as deep as I used to be able to do them, but I can do some sort of squat because it's really important to kind of activate, I've got to keep my muscles activated. I don't want them to totally go to sleep because after I've had the surgery, they need to start getting strong again. So I can do loads of core work. I can do lots of things with my leg raises. I can do a headstand still. I mean, I can still do things like that, which I thought I wouldn't be able to do.
Yeah.
I can still stretch my body. I can't obviously use my legs to bend or stretch. It's very frustrating not being able to do, to do like a lovely child's pose or to be able to lunge. I can't really do that. But I can do sort of half lunges. I can sit on a chair and I can lean down and grab my toes and get a really lovely stretch in my back instead of that child pose. So it's just experimenting what you can do. It makes a real difference.
Yeah.
To believing that you are able to do it rather than I could have honestly just sacked it off. So I've also been going to the swimming pool and I've been walking in the pool, which has been really good for, well, just, again, trying to, because it takes all the pressure off the weight, because a lot of the problem is when you do have an injury, and you'll notice this on one side, you start compensating with other muscles. And that's been one of my biggest problems is suddenly like my ankle's really sore or my other hip's really sore because obviously I'm so out of balance. So the porter has been so nice because it takes all the pressure off all those areas.
It's kind of like the rebounding, I think. You know what I mean? In the way that if you're walking in water, it's kind of lower impact, isn't it?
Yeah,
so it's quite similar to being on
yeah, exactly. So I think the biggest learning for me has just been adapting, being open-minded, listening to my body, going slowly with it, not pushing it, never forcing it ever, because that's, it's like, I don't want to make something worse. The other thing I have really learned is because I used to be like 6 o'clock, I'll do my exercise and that is my routine and be really rigid with it. What I've learned because this place, a new gym where there's a pool and because it doesn't open until 6:30, so I haven't been able to go at 6, and then that has a knock-on effect because I've got my breathwork sessions at 7:30, so I haven't been able to go early. And so actually for me as well, that's been a really positive thing, is that fitting it in when I can, not actually necessarily having to be as rigid as I thought I had to be. It's actually being kinder to myself, and I generally always do it in the morning at some point, because otherwise it really tends to fall off and not get done. But again, it is about being right. You don't necessarily have to go for an hour. You can go for 20 minutes if that's all you've got. You can do something at home for 10 minutes if that's all you've got. So it's about being flexible. What can you do? Something is always better than nothing.
Totally. And I think this is so key. Like you say, it doesn't have to be an hour. It can just be, I think the key really is you can just aim to do some kind of movement every day. And it doesn't have to be massively high impact weightlifting or anything. It doesn't have to be. It can just be, like you say, sort of stretches. And funnily enough, when I was talking to Victoria, my 5 a.m. accountability buddy and friend, and she's had a lot of issues with her back. So she said to me this morning, why don't you just try doing some stretches? And actually that was what led to me doing what I did this morning. And she was talking about how when she has a bad back, she tries, basically the first thing she'll do is to see how much movement she has, is to get into that cobra position and see how far she can push up. And anyway, so it's just interesting that you were also talking about stretching. And because I sort of don't tend to think about stretching as being movement, but of course it is movement as well. So even if you just do 5 or 10 minutes of stretching, as you said just now, when you had that, problem with your back years ago, you just started with stretching. So I think it really is, it's always a question of just starting really super small, because I think partly why we fail is when we expect too much of ourselves. It's like, well, I didn't go and do that hour workout at the gym, so I might as well just sap the whole fucking thing off. No, that doesn't have to be the case. Like, again, this morning, I just did, I did 10 minutes kind of on the ground of doing like, this sort of like upper body, strength training, but just very, very gentle, not using any weights. And then I got on the rebounder, and then I actually got back down on the floor and did a couple more of those kinds of push, like cobra pull-up thingies or whatever you call them. And then went for a walk. So that was really, really, quote, gentle exercise. But actually, when I got in the shower, before I went for my walk, I could actually feel that I'd done some stretching and I'd done some, you know what I mean? It's like you can, it's still good to, I think we sometimes stop ourselves from doing just the small bit of exercise or the little bit here or there, or even the kind of, 20 like squats, just standing, like I sometimes do that where I'll just do literally like, I'll just do 10 or 20 squats just on the spot. And then I might do some, sit-ups, just 20 of those. And even that is better than nothing. So I think it really, it doesn't have to be this massive, great hour-long workout. You can just start small. And I think when you can work up to a bit more, as you get more used to it and as you get more into it.
Yeah. Can I just add, though, with stretching as well, what's so powerful about that is, we all know that if we've been sat hunched over our laptop for so long, and actually if you just then sit up, you stretch out your shoulders or you have a big stretch out, how good does that feel? And those movements are really signaling to your body, to your nervous system, that, right, I can relax now. And that's why it just feels great. Even those sort of micro movements are so powerful. So if you do a little sequence of those micro movements together, of course it's going to make you feel better because you're signaling to your body, right, I don't have to be so tense. I can relax a little bit more. I'm safe. It's all good. So of course it's going to make you feel better. And we just don't do it, and we don't do it enough. So it's just about being intentional about, yes, let's just try and just be intentional about when your body feels a bit, it's like, right, just move it, do what is instinctive or do something, and you will notice the difference. And then, of course, often it leads to you carrying on and doing something a bit more. That's the thing, just starting, you're then, well, I might actually go and do something a little bit more than that. And then that's how it snowballs, because when you get that feedback loop of, I did that and that's made me feel good, then it's kind of instantly, it releases a little bit of dopamine, and then you're going to want to go and do it again and again, and then it builds up. And, it does become addictive. I know that I'm totally addicted to exercise.
Oh, yeah, no. It totally does become addictive because it feels so damn good. And actually, just reminded me of something else that I wanted to add that I forgot, is that when I went for my walk, I wore my weighted vest. I've had a weighted vest for probably at least, maybe even 2 years, but at least a year and a half. And I really love it. It's like, if anyone hasn't heard of this, I mean, it's like, it's such a good way. It's such an easy win. You just shove on a weighted vest and go for your walk. So you're not doing anything extra, but you're just wearing something extra. And it's actually really, it's such a brilliant little thing. I'm so pleased I bought it. And in fact, I was using it like every single day, a lot for a period of time. And then I sort of stopped. And I think actually it was because it was perhaps last summer and it got really hot. So I was like, oh my God, I can't wear this fucking thing because it's so heavy. And when I go out for a walk, I just get like really sweaty. So I stopped wearing it. But anyway, I wore that this morning on my walk, and it reminded me how you really do feel like I did, I walk quite fast anyway, just naturally. But you really feel it, and it just adds that bit of resistance. So, so would you call, like, if you're wearing a vest, if you're wearing a vest, would you call that, is that kind of resistance training?
Yeah. I think you're carrying around an extra weight, so you are pushing some extra resistance on your body. So I'd say that's a good thing. And I'd add to that, Lucy, thinking about your breathing. So making sure that you're breathing through your nose, because that is going to add an extra level as well. So simple things like that, when you're moving, when you're walking, if you're breathing through your nose, you are, again, signaling safety to your body rather than breathing out through your mouth. You're building, because you've got less, your nose, your nostrils are smaller than your mouth in terms of air. You're going to be utilizing that oxygen that you're taking in so much more efficiently, that it's going to be supporting your cardiovascular system. So it really is something to think about, is how you are breathing when you're walking.
Tell us a bit more about that, love. Tell us a bit more about why it's a good thing to try and breathe through your nose when you're on a walk or whatever.
I will only ever recommend brands that I know, love and use myself. And one of those is Ancient and Brave. Honestly, they've become part of my daily habits. The very first thing I do every morning is pour myself a big glass of water with their True Hydration in it. It feels like such a simple ritual, but it really sets me up for the day. And I know I'm properly rehydrating with their blend of electrolytes and minerals, especially before I exercise, which I always do in the morning. Then later on, when I make my coffee, I stir in their True Collagen powder into the coffee. Now, it blends in straight away, no fuss, there's no taste, and collagen is something we naturally lose as we age, but it's so important for our skin, joints, and overall vitality. Now, I'll be honest, Ancient and Brave may cost a little more than some of the tubs you'll spot on supermarket shelves, but the difference is you're getting the highest quality ingredients, sourced with integrity and tested to a higher standard, and absolutely no nasties added. That's why I trust them and why I think they're worth every penny. And because I want you to be able to try them out for yourself, I've got a special offer for you. As a listener of this podcast, you can get 20% off your very first order. All you need to do is click the link in the show notes and pop in the code POLYW20 at checkout. They've got more than just collagen and hydration too. They've got creatine, they've got blends, supplements. So it's a perfect chance to explore their range and make the most of that 20% off.
Okay, so when we breathe through our mouth, if you're breathing through your mouth, what you're doing is you're letting go a lot more carbon dioxide. We need the carbon dioxide in our systems because actually carbon dioxide is one of the triggers of releasing. It's like a catalyst to release oxygen into your bloodstream. So the less carbon dioxide we've got in our blood, in our systems, the less oxygen we're actually going to diffuse into our blood. Also, when we're breathing shallowly, which we do when we breathe through our mouth, we're not bringing as much oxygen down into our lungs. So there's this thing called perfusion where the gas exchange takes place between carbon dioxide and oxygen. And if we're not getting the oxygen down low, you're limiting your chances of getting that oxygen into your system, into your bloodstream. So you're basically just not bringing in and absorbing as much oxygen as you can. And obviously, we want the oxygen to be brought into the bloodstream, which can then be transported to all your working muscles and your brain and all the places so that you feel clearer in your mind. You've got that energy in your muscles so they can work more. So it's really helping you to bring and utilize that oxygen so much more effectively when you breathe through your nose. And also, I think it's something like 20%. We utilize, there's studies to show that you utilize 20% more oxygen if you breathe through your nose than if you don't. So you bring that into your body. Right. I mean, these studies you do have to slightly take with a pinch of salt because there's like one study, it was a relatively small group, but it did show that people are using 20% more. They're using oxygen better. So obviously that means then you are going to be able to exercise for longer, you're going to feel better, you're going to feel clearer in your head. all of those benefits. It's one of the easiest, simplest hacks to better wellness. Fitness. You're going to sleep better. You're going to be more focused. You're not going to be so foggy headed. But yeah, it's something which lots of people don't talk about. So you can start really simply that just by bringing some awareness to how you're breathing, breathing through your nose. When you go for a walk, and try and breathe as much through your nose as possible, you'll notice that if you're walking really briskly, you're walking up a hill, it gets harder because obviously your system is creating, your metabolism is creating more energy, which means that your byproduct is carbon dioxide. So you're going to get this feeling of carbon dioxide building up. And it's that feeling of needing to take a bigger breath, that feeling of air hunger, which is when basically showing you that you are that you've got this build up of carbon dioxide. And obviously the best way to get rid of that is by opening your mouth because it lets it out. But actually, if you can slow down a little bit and keep breathing in and out through your nose and just keeping really super calm, so letting your pace dictate your breathing as opposed to letting your breathing dictate your pace.
Right. Okay. As in slow down your walking.
You will build up a really great tolerance to that sensation, and it becomes much easier. So I totally transferred. I mean, I'm obviously not running at the moment, but to running just through my nose. I didn't used to be able to do that. It can sometimes feel really hard, but just gently over time, it is absolutely possible. And you just feel like more in the flow. You have more energy. Your legs don't get so tired. But it's something which you have to build very gradually, very slowly. It takes about 6 months, really, I would say, to
Does
make that, if you are a mouth breather. But the first thing is to focus on is just how you're breathing in the daytime, ideally at nighttime as well, breathing through your nose as well.
Yeah, I think I breathe. I do try and breathe through my nose. And when I think about it, when I sort of, especially I think things like when you're at your desk, like notice whether I now breathe through my nose when I know through, just when I'm sitting, not moving at my desk working, more often than not, I'm breathing through my nose. But I think quite a lot of us aren't. And I think it's, sometimes, again, it's like, it's always about awareness, bringing that awareness. And actually, speaking of, I know you're not running at the moment, but you mentioned how now you can run whilst breathing through your nose, which there's no way I'll be able to do that. But actually, I've been thinking that I want to start getting back into running, and despite my hip, but I really, and actually, I've been thinking about how, because again, I think it's that classic thing of thinking, well, if I can't do like a 5K, then what's the point? But actually, I'm going to start doing really really little short runs, and even if I run a bit, walk a bit, run a bit, walk a bit, that's fine too.
I'm going to be doing exactly the same. So obviously, my cardiovascular fitness is going to be not great when I get back to running, because I will have had a massive break from it. So I'm going to follow a Couch to 5K. You can just download them, and it starts with brisk walking, a little bit of walking, a little bit of running, a little bit of walking, a little bit of running, and it builds you up really gradually. And again, it's just like, don't go for a 5K run and kill yourself, because you'll never do it ever again, because you'll be in so much pain. It'll be so horrible. So again, it's just training yourself gradually to just do a little bit more. I will definitely be doing that, because there's no way I'll be able to just go out and have a run after this. I'm going to have to build it up gradually. And it's great, because actually then you can see the gradual improvements over time, and it is totally doable. I've just watched Giles, actually. He injured his foot this time last year, playing paddle, and for him it's a nightmare, because he runs a lot. He loves it. It's one of his passions in life. So he wasn't able to run for ages and ages, and then he's gradually done exactly this. Over time, he started with just doing little 30-second runs on his walks, and then he's built it up gradually, and that started in September, I think, last year, and then he's just run the Brighton half marathon. So it just goes to show, it does lead to somewhere, and it's just not forcing it, and to being really kind to yourself and believing that it's possible. And of course, you've got to challenge yourself, but you don't want to challenge yourself so much that you're just going, oh, I'm never ever doing that ever again.
Yeah. And also, like say Giles has just done the half marathon, and that'll be you in a year from now, this time next year.
I've signed up for it.
Well, there you go.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Myself a goal. Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
And that'll be here in 5 minutes. It'll be here super quickly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it really is just about, starting small, starting with something little. So I think, I think we might as well, it's 8:59, so you can wrap up. But I actually just want to call someone out, because as well as starting small and doing little things to talk about in this conversation, at the very beginning of this conversation, because I'm just going to say this, and I wasn't going to, but I'm going to. I don't know whether this person's still on this live, but the other thing that we could all do at the moment, and the world needs more of, is kindness. Mm-hmm. And somebody here on this live, right at the beginning, when I was the first one to talk on this live, and literally I'd been talking for about 5 minutes, and then I handed over to you. And this person, who is called Reta Fischer-Matovic, I don't know how you say that properly, she said, "Yes, can we hear from Polly?" And I saw that right at the beginning of this live, and it really threw me, because obviously it was like basically saying, "Yeah, shut up, Lucy, can we hear from Polly now?" And I just want to say to that person, I don't know whether you're still on here, but that's just really mean. Just be kind. It's so unnecessary. Yeah. We're on a live. How off-putting do you think that was for me? Well, it really was, because when I was in the middle of talking and I see someone puts a message saying, "Yes, can we hear from Polly?" How do you think that made me feel? So yeah, just putting it out there. Be kind, people. Be kind, Reta Fischer-Matovic. There was no need for that. So yeah, just wanted to say that, because I think,
well said.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Let's be kind.
Exactly. Anywho.
Well said, Lucy.
Thanks, love.
All right, lovely.
We'll be back next week.
Yes.
You too. Lots of love, babe. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.